Well, I first met Phil Geier in 1969 when I was interviewing for a financial position with the Cincinnati Milling Machine Company, known in those days simply as the Mill. Phil had served as president of the mill since 1963. When Phil Geier entered the room, he had a presence. He was the man in charge. He was the top guy. You would know that, but at the same time, he was very pleasant and appealing.
Phil was a man of high moral standards and values, and he led his life that way. He was a man of faith. He was always an incredibly enthusiastic, supportive uncle, wonderful family man, and you could tell that that was an important value in his life.
Well, Phil Geier had a culture, and that culture included family. It included business too. So I think when you respect a person for his business acumen, he has to be a well-rounded person. And I think that to this day, I think Phil was probably the most well-rounded person I met in my business career.
Phil was a World War II hero, hit by kamikaze airplanes during World War II, saved many people's lives, and was given the Bronze Star.
Phil's the kind of person not to sit around. Phil's an active person. He wanted to do things, he wanted to get things done. So I think he inspired himself to a good extent because he wanted things to be a little bit better. The company motto for the Milling Machine Company and Cincinnati Millicron was find a better way.
Very, very bright guy who could put ideas into action. And he was a leader as well. People followed him and were very, very interested in what he thought about various topics. So I would consider Phil really to have been, you know, one of the, at the time of his career, one of the top leaders here in the city of Cincinnati.
And Phil really took it upon himself to make sure that the company was doing that, whether it's introducing numerical controls, whether it's introducing plastic injection molding machine, or whatever. There was a better way to have a product, better way to treat people. Phil worked on that. He had the wherewithal and what it takes to contribute to the community too.
He was the chair of the United Way campaign one year. He served on a number of boards, not only of universities and colleges, but also on a number of corporate boards throughout his life. So he was a guy that just gave back a lot throughout his life, and that was another great example for all of us, that he was able to show us the value of community involvement and the importance of that as we mature and grow older.
In the brief time that I got to know Phil, and he got me involved in working with him on the city project, we had some fun working on that because each person I was to talk to and support his project was a little unique. And we had a few jokes about how we got along with people and the setbacks or whatever. And Phil was really straightforward. And I think if anything else, he could tell jokes on himself. And what you see is what you get. And that's Phil Geier.
Well, I think his father probably had a very big influence on him. His wife, Sudie, had a huge influence on him. Very much a shining star of our Cincinnati community. And I can hear Sudie, you know, right now saying, "Oh, come on, Phil," because, you know, she, I think, was a major part of Phil's success. Sudie was a strong personality, and the two of them complemented each other just beautifully.
He was an exciting person. He could get you going. He was interested in your family. He would get you involved in things. All those things. People are attracted to Phil. And I just think that that's the kind of thing that it took to do what the company did and what Phil did with the leadership position he had. Personally, I appreciated having known Phil Geier, and I think he was a real treasure for the Cincinnati community. And I think I learned a lot from him. Until this day, I still miss Phil Geier.
He knew where the fun was in life, and he made sure that we all participated in it with him.
Well, it's a wonderful thing to be here and represent my father tonight. When John Baird gave me a call and said, "Look, we're going to put your father up for this award," I said, "And I have to say something?" He said, "Yeah, you can handle it." I just want to thank JA. I want to thank all the folks involved in this organization that have done so much. We saw that earlier tonight with what junior achievement can achieve, and Dad was on the board of junior achievement back in his day, so he understood that. He was a great family man. One of the things that Cincinnati Millicron did when I was young, and I have two other brothers and a sister who unfortunately aren't here tonight, but Rod Geier and Dan Meyer, the last great CEO of Millicron, did that great video for us. Thank you, guys. And I want to thank all of my extended family over there that came to support Dad. He died in 2009. Millicron was a family. It was one of those institutions that even when I was 10 or 11, we would go to Family Day, and we would show up, and we'd play softball, and we'd see a guy with a jetpack flying around, and we'd see these gigantic machines on the foundry floor. And I think Dad was one of these guys that, you know, even as a son, would give you careful but quiet guidance. And, you know, he wasn't going to bark on you or anything, but if you asked for advice, he would offer it and give you his best shot. And sometimes my mother would be rather adamant and kind of give us a different point of view, and she was great too. I mean, they were a great team together. But one of the things that the mill did was, I think it was family. And what I heard tonight is great companies find a way to get to know their employees. They get to know them because they ask about their family. They ask about their extended family or their health. Those just minor common sense things. And one of the things I know my dad did was he got back from the war and he was told to build machines, so that's what he did. And at one point he came home early from lunch and said to my mother before all of us were born, "Hey, I can't finish this machine. I've got 5 or 6 other guys building the same machine, and I'm not going to outdo them. I've got my name Geier. I'm not doing that." So we would go back after lunch, and they'd all finish together. And then subsequently, as he moved up the chain and demonstrated his capabilities, he got out of the corporate executive office, which they had on Marburg Avenue there, and he found a way to go down onto the floor, and he knew everybody who built every machine by first name. And my older brother told me that he got a letter from a friend of his in Boston whose dad worked as the janitor at Cincinnati Millicron, the milling machine company, the mill. And he said, he wants to meet you, your father. And he was one of these guys that remembered that the top guy came down and made a huge impression on the guy that cleaned the floors and took care of all the guys out there. So it doesn't surprise me that Millicron was a family organization, and that family feeling came back to us. And I'll just share one light moment. One of the things, I mean, Rod and I and his dad and his family were very, very close and did lots of fun things together. And he was a great practical joker and did all sorts of fun things besides business. But one of the things he told all of my friends, and we have a couple of them from high school over there, he said, one of the things you have to do in life is you have to keep your hand on your number. And he just left it at that. And that was the great advice from this great honoree. But anyway, thank you very much for allowing me to chat about my dad.